Hi, this is Duran with the Facebook group Single Black Atheist Dating Pool, and this is going to be the first of hopefully several interviews where we give you an insight into the minds of some of our members. The first one is going to be a guy called Danile Black, and how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks. So, let's see. Where did I want to start? Well, I guess I would start by asking you to just say your name and give a brief description of who you are and what drove you to try to become a member of the Single Black Atheist Dating Pool.
Okay. My name is Danile Black, and I am a musician, songwriter, and general creative person, artist, and I guess a bit of an intellect or something like that. And I kind of found the single page of the Black Atheist group through the Black Atheists of America, I believe, if I remember correctly. And I'm single, among other things, and so it seemed interesting, and I wanted to just kind of get connected with different people who had similar, I guess, outlooks on life and similar interests also, when it came to dating. So it seemed like a good fit.
Okay. Yeah, well, I started it I started the page just because I wasn't sure whether anyone would actually find someone in a long-distance relationship that would work out, but, that's sort of like one of the goals or possibilities. But I figured at least it would be good to have something where, we can share dating stories or dating experiences and something, a little more lighthearted than the usual debates or commentary that goes on the regular Black Atheist pages on Facebook. So this is...
I think... No, go ahead.
So that was just the goal. And, I think you're a good fit. Now, my first correspondence with you was, I believe, you asking were we homo-friendly or homosexual-friendly, and I replied yes, basically. And can you explain, has it been any harder, or do you date Christians, or have you been able to find anyone locally that's a non-believer?
Has it been any harder sort of being atheist as opposed to post? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, as opposed to regular Black Christian in America, being homosexual looking.
Not for me. I guess I haven't really done that much dating. I've only been out for a couple of years now, since about 2008, and I've dated plenty of women and a couple of guys. So my experience is really more with women, not for nothing. But the first guy that I started talking to a couple of years back, he was an atheist. And I think he might have been one of the guys, or one of the first who I ever really knew who was atheist. And we never really got into the whys and the why nots. I wasn't, really. So I didn't scrutinize him on that. But I remember at some point, he may have asked me if I believe in God, or maybe I asked him, and he said no, and pretty straightforward and unapologetically. And I remember just kind of being confused. Like, it was just like somebody saying, I'm from Jupiter. It was kind of like, really? You're from Jupiter? Like, where did you come from, and how come I've never met? It just seemed so strange, and I felt very removed from whatever his experience was. It just kind of baffled me. But and he wasn't a guy that I really dated. Full disclosure, he was, somebody who I saw, you know what I mean, for a little while.
Yeah.
And I remember him just kind of like really not feeling any sense of guilt or any sort of reservation about saying that. And I thought it was just, even though I wasn't there, I thought it was really, really interesting that he could be so sort of, like I said, confident, and just assured. And it just kind of intrigued me. And I've probably always been, somewhat agnostic, leaning, or, skeptical of religion in many different areas. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think at that point, then I started to really kind of pay a little bit more attention to all the skepticisms that I had and some of the reasons for believing in a God. And so, then, fast forward, years later, we have much more in common than we did then. But I haven't met or dated any guys who are sort of like very confident atheists, not people who say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, or I don't think about it, but people who are pretty much resolved in their sense of, disbelief. I haven't really come across any guys like that. By far, women are, at least the ones that I come across, are generally all believers. And my friends, my women friends, and I'm just talking about regular friends now, a lot of them know that I don't believe, and I'm not a believer, and I think they kind of look at me the same way as I looked at him, the guy that I mentioned earlier. They kind of look at me with a sort of curiosity, like, how is it that you could just be so sort of sure or unaffected, or you don't have any guilt, or you don't have any reservation about saying that you don't believe. I think they look at me the same way that I looked at this guy that I mentioned a few minutes ago, with this sort of disbelief, like they believe me, but they don't quite believe that, it's possible for somebody to be in their presence and to not be a believer and to, not eat their head off or, kill them or something.
Yeah. I got just sort of like, I didn't know people like you actually, or I knew people like you existed, but only on TV or, on the web. I've never heard that one in person type of thing.
Right. I do have a gay friend, however, though, who I shared, that I did believe to, just in casual conversation. And the funny thing with him, he said he didn't believe me. He said he didn't accept it. Not that he's incredibly religious either, but he just, I think a lot of people they feel very open to criticize or be skeptical of religion, whether it's Christianity or anything else, and they feel really, like it's cool to sort of, poke fun of or to just not believe in Christianity, but it's not cool to just say I don't believe in God altogether. And so I think, when I have conversations with people, whether they be women or men, whether I'm interested in them or not, people are generally with me when I'm talking about, sort of regular common things that we all criticize the church about or whatever. And everybody's, pretty much on board. But when I get to the point of saying, and because of that, I don't believe in God, or I don't believe in this God, then that's when people sort of get off the boat. They're like, okay, hold up. I was with you for, bashing the church or making criticisms about this or that, but I'm not going to go so far as to say I don't believe in God. And so that's what I notice, whether I'm dating people or not. It seems like I haven't quite come across the type of, non-believers, in the gay world or in the non-hetero world as I do in, any other part of society, whatever. I don't really get. It's kind of hard to say. I don't know which is more or less. It seems to be pretty much the same.
Well, let me ask you, because I'm not clear anymore. Are you strictly dating homosexual, or are you dating men and women currently?
Currently, although I get play and interest from both sides, currently like my focus is a little more on the men right now, because I just came out just relatively recently, and because I didn't really spend a lot of time, just kind of exploring, and figuring out what works for me. I'm a little bit more focused right now on just trying to see what can work out with a particular young gentleman. So that's where it is right now. But I have I get people who, women and men who want to date me, and so or who I might be interested in. So, but generally, that's where my focus is right now with the guys.
So do you find that you have to be, or do you find that you're making a compromise, or do you consider it a compromise to date a believer, even though, the way I see it is like, well, I'm open to dating someone. I would prefer a non-believer, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be likely to happen.
Right.
So I'm going to be dating a Christian of the variety that believes in God, believes in the sin thing, pre-sexual, premarital sex is a sin, but is still going to do it, because if they weren't, willing to break that rule, then we wouldn't be dating, because I don't plan on waiting until I'm married. So is that something that you find yourself, or what?
It's funny because I feel like on some level, we all compromise some things. When we get involved with people romantically, and hopefully if it works out, we all make compromises. So I think on a fundamental level, it would be a compromise to date, in theory, to date a believer. But I would prefer not so much to. I can compromise to the point of dating someone, or someone dating me who, say, is a deist, or at the very least. But what I don't think I'd be comfortable with is compromising to date someone who is sort of what they would maybe call a true believer or a practicing believer, someone who practices a sincere form of belief in absolute claims that supernatural, that are a part of religions that, that revolve around the supernatural and that revolve around holy texts. And that wouldn't be just the moderate Christians. If they were Christians, it would be for the fundamentals. I think I probably have more of a problem with the moderate Christians than the fundamentals, because I understand where fundamentalist Christians come from. In more cases than not, there is one way to look at something. And so I would probably have more of a disagreement with moderates who would try to sort of equivocate on those things, and to try to, who would rather be comfortable allowing things to be gray and ambiguous, as opposed to actually really seriously taking Scripture at its word in those cases, that are about, say, premarital sex or gay relationships or anything like that. I have more of a issue with those folks than the fundamentalist. I see, it's kind of weird, because I don't think that I could date a fundamentalist, but I could actually, theoretically, I could get at a fundamentalist, like if there was somebody who I met and we just really hit it off and they happen to be fundamentalists, I think that there might be more hope for that relationship than there would be for a relationship or a courtship with somebody who is a moderate, because it's really black and white when it comes to the fundamentalists. With the moderate, you know what I'm saying? Moderate people, they moderate, so, I don't even really know. I'm just kind of taking it as I go along right now. But like I said, the people who I've met so far, even the ones who call themselves Christians, they're moderate Christians. Even when I was out with someone, a girl this week who was an old friend. We actually dated in college years ago, and we lost touch and reconnected through Facebook. And we went out and we were talking, and we had a few drinks, and we talked. I talked about some things. She talked about some things. She cursed. I cursed. I told her about, some of my love life, and I told her where I'm currently at in terms of, dating guys, and she was very cool and very understanding with that. And so it's kind of weird. And then she told me that, she's been sort of getting acquainted with Jehovah's Witness. So she's telling me she's a Jehovah's Witness, or more or less,